against Keymer. And David, maybe for the people who are not aware, you can tell us a bit about the match that the two had in the recently concluded World Cup.
Yeah, so Vincent Keymer, he's still young. He's a teenage talent from Germany, and in the recent World Cup that Magnus Carlsen went on to win, Vincent was the closest to stopping him. Vincent, I can't remember exactly which round. I'm not sure. I think it was just before the quarterfinals. It was a while ago. Vincent did take the first game off Magnus. Vincent, when he had white, beat Magnus, and Magnus on demand had to strike back with the white pieces himself. And Magnus got very lucky. Vincent actually had a winning move there. He could have pretty much clinched it on the spot, knocked out Magnus, but he missed the opportunity, went into an equal endgame. But we all know Magnus Carlsen's endgame skills, and eventually Magnus was able to grind it out and win later in the tie breaks. So there's a score to settle for Vincent. But he will surely have taken confidence from the fact that he got closest out of everyone to stopping the world number one. And Magnus himself admitted in interviews afterwards that he was on the brink of elimination. He was kind of really not confident at all about making it past his younger rival.
Yeah, and it was such an important tournament for Magnus Carlsen. The World Cup was one of the only events he hadn't won yet, so he went on to win another feather in his cap, and he's looking very relaxed today. Let's go back to the beginning here and see what we missed.
Yeah, and another Sicilian. It's strange. Normally at the top level we see kind of these massive trends. For a while everyone was playing the Berliners black, then everyone switched to the Marshall, now everyone's kind of switched back to the Sicilian. And this is the open Sicilian, this last move signifying the Najdorf variation. And Magnus, he actually joked when he was with us in the studio yesterday that putting a bishop on c4 against the Sicilian is very effective. And of course it was used by Fischer back in the day and various strong players since, but I've very rarely seen Magnus play with a bishop on c4, especially against the Najdorf. Usually he goes for other lines. And Vincent, in the World Cup, we should mention, played e5 on move 1 against Magnus. He's been known to play Caro-Khans. He plays lots of kind of Roy Lopez's black. But this main line Sicilian may be Magnus trying to target an a4, signifying a positional approach rather than kind of those kind of crazy attacks with throwing pawns forward. To start with Magnus Carlsen, of course, first surprise is that he did not win Vincent Keymer's queen earlier. We pointed out a way to trap the black queen. Magnus would have won a queen for 2 pieces, 2 bishops. Instead, this is a very individual thing. Stylistically, he prefers to go for the attack, prefers to go for the initiative, and he kept level material on the board, but he still has a decisive advantage. And just to jump back to that key moment, A few turns ago, Magnus could have played the move bishop to d5 really flashy, as we mentioned, Fiona. This would have clinched a decisive material advantage. Instead, he simply dropped his knight back, kicked back the black queen, and just improved his pieces. I mean, Magnus Carlsen playing positionally, strategically in a Sicilian, and of course...
That bishop!
Yeah, that bishop, the b3 bishop, playing a key role. White is essentially about 5 tempi up on a normal Sicilian position. Black's pieces experiencing this traffic jam. Simply no way for them to activate get out, and notice how bare the black king side is. So if we catch up with the current position, after a few exchanges, Vincent Keymer trying to pin the white rook. This was broken. We see the current position, and Magnus, he reached out there. He did play the move f6. Again, it's this bishop, it's the superiority of the white knight as well, which is about to jump in, and maybe just the direct attack against the black king.
Yeah, I mean, how does the king even survive here? The move that I think you have to play is g6.
Oof. Now if a white queen ever lands on h6, this is fatal.
Yeah, I was wondering, can I just play queen f4, the cave woman approach?
Yeah, I don't see why not. I'm surprised the evaluation bar is slightly dropping, but do I have to play king h8 to defend g7 with my rook? It's very lucky in this position. Okay, this would actually drop a rook with check. I'll pretend I saw that. I was going to say it's very lucky in this position that the rook is pinned, because otherwise there would be this typical queen takes pawn and rook h4 checkmate. But
maybe can we just set it up? Play king h1?
Yeah, king h1. I think you might be right. After the king slides, white's king slides. Okay, let's see what happens if I bring my knight into the game.
Where is the kill?
Where is the kill? It looks really close right now with the queen coming in. If you want to be boring, you could maybe just take the pawn.
What if I play queen h6 anyway?
Yeah.
Wow.
I was hoping to get away with knight takes pawn now, so you cannot deliver checkmate anymore, and I am still hitting your rook.
Yeah, I was hoping maybe rook h4, but knight h5, yeah.
Still terrifying for black, but surviving. Actually, the white king not entirely comfortable either. So, wow, I'm surprised Vincent didn't go for this. At least there he would have forced Magnus to find the concrete checkmate. Instead, he plays knight to d7. And now the black king is going to be out in the open.
Yeah, it's very tempting just to take on g7, I imagine.
Black king
has to take.
And, okay, he still needs to deliver mate. If the queens ever come off now, then black is fighting, black is surviving.
I would almost be tempted to just play king h1 again.
Yep.
I'm struggling to see how, well, I'm not sure what concretely my threat is yet, but I want to activate both the rook and the queen, and I can't do that while my king is on g1.
Yeah, this still looks super scary.
But they're stronger, so let's go back.
Go back. I think he will start with taking this pawn, Magnus Carlsen. He has a sizable time advantage as well, 26 minutes against 6 minutes. What is the key to this position? I was going to say, but it's Vincent Keymer, so it's not quite acceptable, that pun. Pawn takes pawn.
What's the K to this position?
And, okay, king takes g7. Let's try to find the breakthrough for white.
I was gonna ask what happens if I get greedy and just take on f7.
Bishop takes pawn. Yeah, I'm wondering whether I can. Ooh, nope, not allow a checkmate in one. Whoops. Okay, that was not good, Dave.
But I mean, I'm shocked that bishop f7 was again not so good. So there must be something more concrete.
Maybe the black king hides, and it's a bit uncomfortable. This pin, this pin. Still looks very good for white, I've got to say. Pawn up now this time, but...
something with knight.
He's reaching out. Magnus, save us. Reveal to us. What is the move? I think he was
By
reaching
the
for that
way,
pawn.
we haven't mentioned it yet, but in this match, the game between Eric Hansen and David Anton has ended in a draw where Eric, after spending a lot of time on the opening, did pull the safety brakes a bit and guided the game to a draw.
Let's just very briefly show the ending of this one. For Eric Hansen, we were actually really worried about the way he'd been approaching this game. He had only 30 minutes left after 8 moves, and it was this position. He hit the black queen which dropped back, and it was here that he started repeating the position. Yeah, I think good team strategy. He only had 2 minutes left actually after about 12 moves, which is incredibly risky. He here just kept threatening this knight c7 break, and yeah, the players just danced around with a knight, with a rook, and a repetition ended it. So good for the team who don't have to worry about his clock handling anymore. But for Magnus, let's go back there. He has just taken on g7. We're still lacking the killer blow. Maybe it's time to
Check in with the computer.
check with our Silicon friends. We found some decent moves, but nothing game ending. And okay, actually, there's a few moves here that came to mind, but I was reluctant to suggest them because they take the game not towards a checkmate, towards a more strategic advantage.
Which is right up Magnus Carlsen's alley.
It is up his alley, but considering he could have been a whole queen up a bit earlier in the game.
Did he just play bishop d5? He did, yeah?
Of course he plays bishop d5. Of course he plays the best move. Of course he doesn't go for checkmate and let things backfire like we were trying to predict. Bishop to d5. He's simply now threatening to bring his knight into the attack. Knight to e4 is a huge, huge threat. And if the bishop is captured, the knight also lands on a really strong square. It's just total domination here, actually. Rook checks in the air. This white knight is just all powerful.
Vincent also down to just 6 minutes. This is only move 25. Still 16 moves for Vincent to make. I'd be shocked if he managed to make the time control here.
Yeah. How impressed are you, Fiona, that he resisted the temptation to win material, to win a queen, and just kind of slow playing it, Magnus, with his advantage?
Very impressed. I'm shocked actually by that move we saw. Maybe we can very quickly go back to the moment that Vincent lost control of this game when he played knight g4. It's a move that takes some courage to play. It feels so loose, and the response wasn't obvious by Magnus, but it was incredibly strong. Knight f5, and white gets a close to winning advantage already.
Yeah, knight f5, and we're live, as they say. And yeah, this blow clearly missed by Vincent Keymer. The bishop attacked. He moved this bishop, but if he had taken, then this hit on the black queen would have been fatal. She would have been chased all the way back, and a nasty knight fork would have ended this game. So Magnus did get a decisive advantage. The biggest shock to me was that he didn't play this move bishop to d5, just trapping the black queen on c8, as we showed a bit earlier. Instead, he kept the material balance, just pushed a strategic advantage, and this is the game position. Vincent Keymer down under 5 minutes now.
Maybe we check in with the other games in this match quickly, starting with